So if you've clicked on this video, I'm guessing you want to know how it is or how you go about renting a place in Australia on a working holiday visa. Rentals for the most part are not designed for backpackers. Most backpackers do opt to either go on hostels or campsites because they are flexible and cheap. Although it is doable to live long term, it isn't sustainable. And I mean in this sense that the lack of space and lack of alone time might drive you a little bit crazy. On the other hand, rentals are a lot more hassle, a bit more of a commitment, and expensive. But the best thing of all is that you get your own space. Hi, if you're new around here, I'm Rosie, one half of CNR Travels. About 2 years ago, my partner and I travelled to Southeast Asia for about 6.5 months. And since October 2023, we've been in Australia. In this video, I plan to go through how to rent in Australia over 3 sections. Section 1 will be a tour of our rental. Section 2 will be the process and explaining how we go about renting. And then section 3 will be the cost. And with that, I introduce you to what we've called home for the last 6 months, starting at the front of the house. So as you can see, a very modern build. We got very lucky with this. Walk through the mesh door, a necessity in Australia, straight into the living room and kitchen. The kitchen came with an oven, electrical stovetop and ample storage space. The living room is a huge space that we have been unable to fill despite a huge sofa. Moving into the main bedroom, a nice big window, and we've added a bed, a bit of storage and a plant. We have an amazing walk-in wardrobe where we also keep our internet box, and then into the ensuite. Walk quickly across to the main bathroom, which is a lot bigger than the ensuite, with a bigger shower and more vanity storage. Next to it, we have lots more storage for towels, bed sheets, shoes, our electronics and big bags. Turning around into the second bedroom, which we've done absolutely nothing with. And onto the third bedroom, or the gym. And the mirrors have been super handy here. Continue down into the little nook and then into the garage. We did have a washing machine in the gap, but sold it that day. And back into the living room with its abundance of natural light. Note that most things here we have had to buy, so we had an unfurnished rental, including buying our own fridge and washing machine. Luckily, work was able to give us a free fridge and we were able to grab a $50 washing machine off Facebook Marketplace. A large majority of the other items that we have are from IKEA. Although this means it's a little bit more expensive, it does give us a little bit more comfort that it's going to be new and fresh. And the TV was $259 from Big W. Unfortunately for us, IKEA was in Brisbane, which is about 3.5 hours from here, but that was better than paying $600 for a delivery. Section 2 and the most technical section of this video, and it is the where, the how, and the what. So the first one, where, is where to start. So it is recommended to use the website Real Estate. And this will be a website that will help you filter your preferences from 1 bedroom to 3 bedroom to your pricing to the length of your lease. And it is recommended because it will provide you with the most up-to-date available listings. Do note that there are other websites like Domain and Rent.com, but unfortunately for us, in this area, they are rarely updated, meaning we applied for a handful that had been leased months ago. Other than looking online, it's also recommended that you email across your preferences to real estate agents in the area. This will help show your interest as well as help them recommend ones that haven't already been listed. The next one, and that is how do you apply? So you can apply the old-fashioned way by a paper application, or most places now suggest that you apply through a site called Snug. Snug is a pretty straightforward website, but it's far from simple. When applying for a rental, you need at least 2 years history of addresses. You need previous and current employment. You need to provide your saving balance, and you need to provide 2 forms of ID. To potentially help your case further, it's also recommended that you create a CV-like document that outlines everything within this, so you can include like your contact details And it is just a pretty way of them seeing that information straight up front. I don't know how much that helps, but if there's anything that can be done to potentially make you feel better, that might be something. Luckily, however, all of this information gets stored on your profile. So once you fill it in, that will be it. And then when you apply, it already is there. And I think all you have to do is just sign at the bottom before sending it off. What adds on the ball ache is also if you're applying with a partner or a friend, so they also have to apply. So if I do the application, I fill it all in, and then I invite Charlie to then complete his side. And again, all that is to sign. When you eventually get around to applying for a handful or even 1 or 2 rentals, it's best to ring up immediately or maybe a couple of hours after, just to double check that they've got it, and it also shows that you're eager. The first what, and it is what next, and it is a waiting game from here. So depending on the area, depends on obviously how many applications are going through or how many rentals are being pushed through at the same time. Unfortunately, we weren't even considered for a rental before living and working here. Although we were only 2.5 hours up in the Gold Coast, they didn't like the fact that we weren't working and living here, and so everything from then was rejected. Once we then updated to say yes, we were living here and working here, in literal minutes we were given this house. The second what and the last part of this section is what happens when leaving. We are now in the process only 10 days away from leaving this rental. And so there's a few things that we need to do in preparation to leaving and hopefully gaining all of our deposit back. For some unknown reason, we were under the impression that we would have to pay for a cleaner to come in and kind of clean everything up. But on closer inspection to our contract, that is not the case. Therefore, we have planned that Charlie will take 2 days off work before we leave to really make this place spotless. He works as a housekeeper, so you would hope that there wouldn't be any difference between him and a paid cleaner. Our real estate agent actually sent us through a cleaning checklist just to double check what there is that we need to clean. Aside from cleaning, they also expect you to leave as you came. So anything that wasn't here needs to be gone, whether that's you removing it or selling it, and that if you have damaged anything, that you deal with it. In so doing this, hopefully you should get all of that deposit back, and hopefully we get our 2,320 back. Section 3, and one of the most interesting parts, how much did everything cost? To secure our rental, we had to pay a few things. So we had to pay a rental bond, we had to then pay a holding fee, and then also 1 week's rental in advance, totaling to a upfront cost of $3,480. The rental bond came to $2,320. The holding deposit was 1 week's worth of rent, which is $580, and then obviously a week's rent of $580 as well. Going forward, we pay $580 per week. Then on electricity, we pay $99 per fortnight, and per month we pay $69 for internet. For electricity, we decided on AGL, and for internet, we decided on Swoop. Do prepare yourself for a little bit of a palaver and some hassle when sorting these out. The internet by far was a lot more difficult than I anticipated. Originally, we decided that we were going to go with the internet provider of Tangerine. They then came over and basically said that they were going to drill a hole through our rental from the outside into the bedroom to allow this connection to be better. And I said, absolutely not, because it's not my house. So we had to then cancel that provider and then went with Swoop. Once we figured out with Swoop that we wanted an internet box rather than one that goes outside, we then also found out that we needed to buy a Wi-Fi router, and then what this would do was connect to the Wi-Fi box that they sent us. we bought our box from Harvey Norman at $149. So I've just watched the video back and I haven't explained myself very well. So the one that Tangerine were offering, which is the one that most places will offer, and it's the more up-to-date and better connection, is classed as an FTTP, which is fiber to the premises. But if you're someone like us who literally just wants a box that then attaches into like your telephone cable and you're not having to drill any holes, it's called FTTC, which is fiber to the curb. And that is a little bit more hard to come by. So the reason why we had to cancel with Tangerine was because they didn't offer this. And like I said, it's probably more of an old system that they offer. You'll have to just be a little bit more picky with the ones that you're having to choose, and it might therefore mean that you have to pay a little bit more money, but hopefully that's cleared things up. In terms of our water usage, that is calculated every 4 months and then sent to our landlord, who then sends it to us. So I can't give you a definitive, this is how much we pay per month, per week. But what I can do is I can do a little bit of maths for you to figure out how much roughly you will be paying. So looking at my notes here, over the first 4 months that we were here, we only had to pay 12 days of it, and we paid $2.95, which if I calculate using everything that I know, it will come to about 25 cents per day for water. Now, like I said, we are coming to the end of our tenancy agreement, but that means I can tell you overall how much we have spent within each area. So again, looking at my notes, just to double check how much we've got everything. So we spent $15,080 on renting. So that's 26 weeks of renting, or 6 months. $382 on the internet, and around $500 on electricity. We don't have a definitive of that. And then, like I said, with the water, it is unknown roughly how much we'll be paying. But if I do the maths very, very quickly, give me a sec. So done in calculations, and it will be another 177 days that we're paying for. So times that by 0.25 cent, which will mean it comes to $44.25. All in all, despite the hassles of going through sorting a rental, it is totally worth it. And almost 6 months down the line, we do not regret our decision to go for a rental. If you have any questions, please comment below, or even if you have any tips of your own, we would love to read them. If you are interested in finding out how it is working and living in Australia, I recorded a video about 2 weeks ago to a month, and I will add that here. Or if you want to see what it's like traveling in Australia and navigating it, we have a massive playlist just for you. The next video will be of us on our big travels. Yes, we are finally making a big journey, almost 3 months worth of traveling. So we will have lots and lots of videos to add to that playlist. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.